I'm Chris Angel, and welcome to a video Tactics Toddler. We are going to look at a puzzle. It's actually not really so much of a toddler level puzzle, but it is quite brilliant and it is quite lovely. So I have a special guest with me tonight, Dexter, known as Dexter13 on chess.com. And Dexter is going to be kind enough to talk us through this very brilliant puzzle that we have here. It's actually a mate in 9. And so, without further ado, here is Dexter. I will keep quiet and Dexter can explain. Thank you. Go right ahead, Dexter.
Hello, good evening. So I'll explain the puzzle right now. Basically, Black has multiple threats here to try and checkmate the White King. Black can check on B7, and Black can check on G5, which is if we allow Black to play those moves, then our king will be checkmated. So the key here is to play forcing moves that will, so that Black doesn't have any time to play to make those moves. So from here, the obvious move is to sacrifice the queen, because it's the only way we can force Black to make a move. So there are two options, which is queen to queen to f5 or queen to g6. But queen to g6 just allows Black to play queen takes g6, checkmating our king. So the obvious first move is queen to f5. So let's play that move. And so after queen f5, Black doesn't have any other moves, because the e7 square is taken care of by the knight on c6, and all these squares are protected by White's king. So the only move for Black here is to capture the queen. So after capturing the queen, Black has three options to, again, prevent Black from playing queen g6 checkmate. So either White can play queen e3, or White can play g4, or White can play knight to e7. White can also play knight to d4 check, but it's obvious that knight d4 check doesn't work, because Black just captures the knight. So if White goes g4, then Black can just play king f4, and we run out of checks. So g4 isn't also a very good option. So you can try to play knight to e3, but after king f6, we can play knight takes d5. Oops. Knight takes d5. Then after the rook captures on d5, we also run out of checks. So from all the possible candidate moves, it seems that knight e7 is the most obvious. That's the best here. After playing knight e7, White actually creates a royal fork, forking the king, queen, and the rook on d5. So Black has two options here. Can he can move the king to f6. But after moving the king to f6, we have knight takes queen, then king. Now the king is forced to go back to f5 because these squares are covered. So after king f5, then we have the knight e3, which is checkmate because a black king doesn't have any squares. As you can see here, the f6 square is covered by the knight. These three squares are covered by the knight, pawns, and the king. And black's king is in check. So instead of playing king f6 earlier,
So we can throw in a variation because that would be the quicker way to do it. However, he also has the option of taking with the rook, correct?
yes. So it looks like black's best choice here is to capture the knight on e7. So after black captures on e7, this leaves the rook on d5 unprotected. So the only check, the white has two checks here, so either g4, but we've seen in the previous variations, g4 just allows king to f4, so which leads to nothing. So it looks like the best option here is to play knight e3, check, checking the king and forking the rook on d5. So the only move is to go back to f6, and after knight takes d5, the only move for black is to play king to f5 again.
So we're basically limiting him to those two squares with pretty much every move that we make.
Yes. So now we have another candidate here, which is g4 check, since the knight on d5 covers the f4 square, and it also covers the f6 square. And as you can see, all these squares are covered by the king. This is covered by the pawn on f3. However, since it's not checkmate because after we play g4,
The queen.
yes, after we play g4, black still has his queen, so he can sacrifice his queen for the pawn. So which leads to this variation. And black escapes. So after knight takes e7, black's still up
He's
ahead
still
by two
ahead.
pawns.
Yes.
And black should be easily winning this position. So instead of playing g4, white can try to remove the queen first from protecting g4. So white does that by playing knight takes e7, forks the queen and the king. And now the only move for black is to go back to f6. Then now knight captures on g8, and now black can't go to e7 because of the knight. Knight covers that square. So still, black is still limited to f6 and to f5. So it's forced to go back. Then after that, we can try to get our knight back to e5 like before. So we can limit him on the f5 square and take away the squares on f6 and f4. So white goes back to e7 check, and the only move is f6, king f6. Then knight to d5 again check. The only square is king to f5, and then now, since there is no more queen protecting the g4 square, uh, white successfully plays g4, which is checkmate. And that's the idea of the puzzle.
So that is actually quite brilliant. So let's go back and just look at that again from the moves that we just made. So putting this back here. So we do this, this, this. Okay. And now we're going to...
I think that's the wrong variation.
all right. What's the, like, the 9 steps without any variations in it?
It's the rook takes c7 variation. After this, then knight e7, then rook takes e7.
There we go.
Then we have knight to e3, then king f6, then knight takes d5, king f5. Then we go to knight takes d5, knight takes e7. After knight takes d7, king f6, knight takes g8, king f5, knight e7, king f6, and then play knight d5 check, king f5, and then g4 check.
And what makes that beautiful is all those lovely forks. Those wonderful little forks, and being able to kind of take off black pieces one by one, all of his major pieces, including his queen. So again, not so much of a toddler puzzle. This is kind of this is a little bit of a tougher one, but it does have a solution that is quite brilliant. So we really wanted to show this. So we're going to try to bring some more material that would be Tactics Toddler level. And if you do like it, a like would be fantastic. We would really appreciate it. And you can subscribe as well. But hopefully we will be able to offer more videos soon that are going to be aimed more towards the beginner players, that are going to show basic tactical patterns that can help beginners become better at the game. So thank you so much for watching, and I will say good night.